Hello, this is Mark at the Wicked Edge Expert Corner Group, and we're going to talk about sharpening stones for guided sharpening, fixed position guided sharpening systems. I work with Wicked Edge, and my first experience with Whetstones I purchased directly from Wicked Edge. Back at that time, Tom Blodgett from Genda and Wicked Edge were in some association, collaboration where Tom was cutting whetstones and mounting them on Wicked Edge paddles, and they could be purchased right from the Wicked Edge website. And initially, when I saw that availability, they were available in the Shapton Curamako Pro Stones, and they also offered a Chaucera stone. The Chaucera stones that were offered back then were suggested that they be soaked. And later we learned while using Chauceras that they can be used spritz and go, and they do absorb enough water that you don't need to soak them. So we had the Chaucera stones and the Shapton Pro stones, and then shortly later, I'm trying to think of his name, from Oldowan, Bob Nash from Oldowan was selling Shapton whetstones cut and mounted on Wicked Edge, and he was a dealer for Genda Industries. About that time, Wicked Edge and Genda dissolved the association, and Genda was selling the Wicked Edge whetstones, and Wicked Edge was selling just the diamond stones. So just a little history. So the whetstones, I was introduced from Wicked Edge, and I went with the whetstones because I was sharpening a knife that was very hard steel, supposedly. I think it was 63 or 62 on the Rockwell C hardness. You know, some sort of cryo-cured, where they take a hard steel and through the curing and tempering process, they're able to introduce an extra level of hardness. And that extra level of hardness tends to show itself as a brittle sharpening apex. So the challenge to us is to how do we sharpen a micro brittle, micro chipping steel, or a steel that has a propensity to microchip. How do we sharpen that with diamond stones? And I tried all different ways, and I tried whetstones. And I was able to sharpen these harder steels with the whetstones to the results that I was looking for, where I couldn't do it with the diamond stones. So that's where I started with the whetstones. And whetstones are all over, all kinds of whetstones. I tend to use Japanese whetstones because that's what's cut and mounted and made available. And that's where I started with the different stones. And then I wanted to know which stone was best for which steel. And then, of course, there was a different stone that I had to have just to try. So I amassed a collection of stones to try on my collection of knives that I amassed of different steels, so I could try the different stones on the different steels. So is my story. That's my excuse to buy knives and buy different whetstones, to play with them, to see what I liked best, to hopefully down the road draw some real conclusions about which works best with which. So when we started, we were limited at Wicked Edge with the Wicked Edge paddles and whetstones that were being cut and mounted onto backing plates and then onto the Wicked Edge for Wicked Edge users. But I wanted different whetstones. So I found people that would cut whetstones and make them available to me, and I would back them and mount them. And eventually I found people that backed them and mounted them for me. So that's how I was able to make this collection of whetstones to use on Wicked Edge, because I intentionally found people that would cut them for me so I could mess with them and play with them. Now, if you're looking to buy stones for guided sharpening, we have the three main formats. We start with the 1x6 for the Edge Pro and the Agenda Jigs and the Hapstone and the TS Prof and the Apex and the Work Sharp and the Sharpen All and all those that use the 1x6 plated stones. I was looking for one to show you. Or you can buy what's available in the marketplace for Wicked Edge, and there's some choices, and I am working with Tom Blodgett at Agenda Industries to make more choices available, ready to buy on Wicked Edge paddles. But more available are whetstones that are cut and mounted on the 1x6 plates and the 1x4 plates that are smaller for the KME style. Because those are available, the 1x4s and the 1x6 from Genda, from Gritomatic, from Hapstone. All the stones that I have here, they have them too at Gritomatic, Hapstone, whatever. They cut the same Shapton stones. They cut the same Chaucer stones. They cut the Sohira stones. The different dealers in the 1x6 have those stones available, and I wanted to use them. So we designed the uni handle, which is this plastic handle that holds the 1x6. And we have the uni handle that holds the 1x4. So all of those other mediums that are out there in the marketplace for the fixed angle guided sharpeners, now we could start using them for Wicked Edge, and that led to you had to maintain them in the lapping and the whatever. So now we have all these different mediums available to Wicked Edge, and we have to learn how to use them and learn how to maintain them. That's what I'm doing. I'm learning how to use them, how to match them to the different steels, to look at the quality of the scratch pattern on the edge and the finished polish and the finished fineness. And I'm trying to correlate which one works with which. And I've been at it for a few years, and I'm making some progress. And then I got started with the Expert Corner group, and I want to share what I can share with others so that you can use these different whetstones and dry stones and ceramic stones with me, and that we can come to a understanding about what really is best for what as a body of knowledge in sharpening. So that's what I'm attempting to do, is to make something that makes some sense, and not just talk about all the products, but use all the products in practical applications to draw conclusions about them. And that's what we do here at the Expert Corner group. I'm going to stop this disc, and then we're going to stand up and we're going to look at the different things, and we're going to talk about them. Thanks.